Hi everyone, this is Rayon Paper, and in today's video I wanted to show you my June 2024 currently inked. But before we do that, I figured let's just talk a bit about how last month went in my fountain pens. So almost all of these have either ran out of ink now or I've cleaned them to ink them with something else. So I don't have them with me right now, but I can tell you about how these combinations were and what my findings are, sort of. I inked up my Leonardo Furore in white salt with the Kingdom Note exclusive Sailor ink Higurashi or Evening Cicada. That's this pen actually, and I made sure not to put too much ink in the converter because I knew that I wanted to ink it up this month with something completely different, so it's no longer in here. The combination wrote very well. However, I noted that when writing with this, I was craving something a little bit more vibrant, a little more punchy. I think because the month before, in April, I had Dominant Industry Lake in this pen, which is a very bright teal color. So I liked the combination in terms of writing. I don't think the color pairing was the best. So I put something really fun in this right now. We'll talk about that in a sec. My Tibaldi Bononia in Martini Olive, I inked up with Diamine Salamander, and that may be the ink that I'll put in that the most. I have a couple of inks that I really want to try in that pan, but this combination was close to perfect. The flow was amazing. The color matches quite well. On the Tomo River paper, the ink is a little cooler toned than on some other papers. I think on Tomo River paper it matches a little less well. However, the combination was great and it wrote like a charm. The Delta Spaccanapoli in Palazzo Serra Cassano, I inked up with Diamine 3 Kings last month, and that combination was really, really good. Before that, I had inked it up with a brown pen, a brown ink, and the pen has like both brown and yellow elements. So I wanted to try something a bit like on the warm golden yellow side for last month, and that wrote so well. I absolutely love this ink. It has great shading, great flow, just really a shade of yellow. That sort of brownish golden yellow is something that I really enjoy. The LAMY Safari in Terra, I inked up with Diamine Terracotta, and that wrote very well, but it was a bit on the wet side. And before, like a couple months ago, I inked up that pan with Diamine Ancient Copper, and I liked both the color and the flow of the ink better than Diamine Terracotta. This was a bit of a test. The Terracotta is a sample that I got. I have a bottle of the Ancient Copper, and I sort of wanted to try if I liked the Terracotta better and if I also wanted to get a bottle of that, and I don't think I do. So it was great, a kind of experiment to exclude an ink from my wish list. Which is nice for a change, because usually when I try out new combinations, I keep adding things to my wish list. So it's good to decide I don't want to get a bottle of this ink. But it was lovely to write with anyway. One of my Gin House 82, I inked up with Dominant Industry Dutch Moorlands. That was one of my least favorite inks from last month. I'm just not really sure if that ink is for me. I don't really like the pink shimmer in it. The base color is nice, but not the nicest I have. You might not be able to see the shimmer on camera. I don't know. I'm considering selling the bottle, but it's an exclusive ink, and I don't think you can get it anymore. So I'm kind of hesitant, but on the other hand, it would kind of be a shame to hoard it when someone else might love it and get a lot more use out of it. So yeah, My Kaigelu 316, I inked up with Robert Oster Chicago, and I think in last month's currently inked video, I already talked about how that ink and pen and ink combination is extremely wet, and how the Kaigelu just writes way too wet. I ordered a replacement nib for it, but that is just being sent by regular post all the way from China. So that is still on its way for like 5 weeks or so now. And it's still probably gonna take a couple weeks. I have left some of the ink in the pen because I just want to swap the nibs to have a really good comparison on whether that makes a lot of difference or not. So yeah, we're gonna see. In terms of color, it was a wonderful combination, but it was just really hard to write with. So then onto this month. I do not want to talk about how I stamped June and how much space there is between the N and the E. That did not go the way I planned it. Anyway, it is now the month of Jun E. And I have 6 pens, and the one that we're going to start with is this one, the Silverburl Golden Shine. And I have inked this one up with Robert Oster Peppermint, of which I have a sample. And before that, I had this inked up with Diamine Velvet Emerald from the Purple Ink Font calendar. And I liked that combination. The color was a good match. However, the Velvet Emerald has plenty of sheen, especially when the ink is in the pen for a bit longer. So I wanted to try an ink with a similar color, but less sheen. And then I remembered I had a sample of this one. So I thought, let's try this. And so far, it's writing really well. And I think I like this better than the Velvet Emerald. And the next one is my Leonardo Furore in white salt with an extra fine nib. And I inked this one up with Diamine Wild Strawberry. And I think this might be a good point to talk about like the theme that I was going for. I mostly wanted very bright, punchy, vibrant colors that remind me of summer this month. And especially the Wild Strawberry and the next 3 inks are that to me. The Peppermint, maybe not so much. I just wanted to try that ink out. And then the last pen that we'll have today is like completely out of the theme, but you know, who cares? This ink is so bright, and it's like squeezing a overly ripe strawberry, and like the juice you get just looks like this. It's like, while I would consider red to be more of an autumn color, this is a summer red to me. Then the next one is my LAMY Safari in Mango, which is, I believe, a 2022 exclusive color. I could be a year or two off, but I don't think it's available anymore, at least. I love this color. I love those warm, like orangey yellows. And I paired it with a sample of Sailor Manyo Yamabuki. It also has an extra fine nib. I think there's only one pen today that doesn't have an extra fine nib. It's just my preference. I like this color. I like this ink. It has amazing shading, like many of the Manyo inks, to be honest. I think, however, that it is not my favorite ink in this category of colors. I have plenty of samples in this category just to sort of figure out what my favorite actually is. So far, I think I'm leaning more towards Aurora and Klingner Helianthus. I think that one is really hard to beat. It's really pretty. But this one's great as well. It has good flow. And yeah, this one has a really, really wet extra fine nib. Like, you can see how much broader these lines are, for example, compared to the Silverburl one. Even though the inks are pretty evenly matched in terms of the wetness, I'd say. Then we have another LAMY Safari, which is the white one with the black clip. It's crazy. I bought this like a year ago or so, like just for its retail price, but it's not available anymore. And I saw people sell this at the pen show for somewhere near 100 euros. So that's crazy for a Safari. So I'm really glad that I got this one for retail price, because I really like the contrast of the white clip, of the black clip with the white body of the pen. The regular white LAMY Safari has a chrome colored clip, I believe, but I like this one so much better. And I inked this up with a green, and that is Inkabara Grass Green. I don't know what it is, but I love pairing white pens with bright, punchy colors. And the Inkabara Grass Green ink is a pretty dry ink normally, I would say. But this pen is just quite wet, so I have absolutely no problem with the ink whatsoever. Such a happy green. You can really see my color palette come together here, and the next pen is only going to make it better. This is the Cyan colored Sailor Prophet Junior. There's also 1911 somewhere in that name. I always forget what the full name is. But yeah, I paired this up. It has a medium fine steel nib, and I paired this with a Diamine Florida Blue, which isn't a perfect match in terms of color, but it works so well, and I love how this combination writes. Of all the pens I'm using today, this is the only one that I always use posted. If you've seen my second blue ink swatching video, then you may have heard me say that from that category, this ink, the Diamine Florida Blue, is my favorite. And as I'm using up the last of my sample, I have already acquired a smaller 30 milliliter bottle of that because I just like this color so much. And then to completely ruin the theme of the color palette, but still an ink that really grounds and anchors this entire palette, so I'm really happy with it anyway, is this pen, the Giant Pens with the Elvenwood material. And I've inked this up with Dominant Industry Winterwood. Very appropriate for June, right? I mean, let's just say it's a little nod to the fountain pen people in the southern hemisphere. A bit of winterwood for your winters. I always like having something a bit darker and more neutral in my color palette, just for those days where you're not really feeling like writing with a very bright, colorful ink. Sometimes it just doesn't really feel appropriate, or it doesn't match the decoration on the page, if that is something that you're concerned about. So I really like how there's one more neutral, darker color. I always have one pen inked up with something black as well. That's why you rarely see black inks in my currently inked videos, mostly because I sort of just refill that with a cartridge or with bottle inked whenever it's finished. So I only add it when it's something special, either the pen or the ink. Like I think 2 months ago, I did a black shimmer ink. Yeah, the Diamine Astro. But this is the color palette for this month, and I think it looks really nice. It's exactly what I was going for. So I'm really happy that it turned out the way that I had it in my head. And I hope you like it. Just putting this here so I remember to take a picture for the thumbnail, because that is something that I always forget. There we go. Bam. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're doing well. Take care, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.